Dune Part 2 is exactly what cinema needs. This film is so grand in scale, like, I mean, this word is used too often, but it's just epic. I'm gonna keep this review non-spoiler in the first part and then spoiler review in the end. But yeah, I mean, Dune Part 2, we've been waiting for this Denis Villeneuve sequel from his 2021 film, Dune Part 1. I did an out-of-theater reactions for the fan event this past weekend. I didn't even get tickets, it was sold out, but loved it, had a great time, met some great people, and had some good like reviews on that. So, but today, my perspective on this film, very good overall. And going back to that first sentiment I talked about, epic, it's just so grand in its nature, not just because of the visuals, but with the thoughts and ideas planted throughout the story. This film really dives into the complexities and the idea of religion, and the religiosity aspects of this film, I think, is the core construct of what this film is about. Having sides of the believers and really having faith in Paul and the idea of a Messiah, and then also the non-believer side and how that perspective influences others moving forward and characters too. I really enjoyed that idea Denis Villeneuve added to this screenplay. And I wouldn't say the film was trying to sway an audience to one side, although I could see where it would lean towards one side, but I think it gave a fair shot for both sides. So yeah, really neat ideas and really just thought-provoking filmmaking in general. So Denis Villeneuve, shout out to you. Visuals fantastic. Really, you know, the action sequences, battle scenes, you heard it all. Really good in this film. It's literally on par with like Return of the King in terms of scope. Like, I haven't had that experience since rewatching Lord of the Rings, right? Those extended battle scenes. And instead of the fantasy genre, this is the sci-fi genre, right? So we're getting different spectrum, but still on the same level. This is what cinema is. That's what I'm saying. We needed this. We needed this new age of action sci-fi film. And I think this does it in a great way. And yeah, the character development was pretty good. Like, moving from Dune 1, setting up really a bunch of development in the first one, but even watching the people grow from the first. So for instance, Paul Atreides, I think of him as like a teenager learning the new ways with his father, right? And understanding what it is at his stage of House Atreides, and right, he's like, you know, next in line. But still, he moves in a direction in this where he goes on a more independent route and starts being a more free thinker, but yet understanding the balance he needs to partake in order to find his purpose, right? So this dives into that. Again, it adds to the religiosity we see that I mentioned first. Overall, character development on Paul was good. And House Harkonnen, the antagonist of the film, really enjoyed the new character Austin Butler's playing Fade Rotha, slithering type of villain where you really like want to see him on screen, but you don't know what he's gonna do next, and he's just so disturbing to even watch him do what he does. I think he's a real standout. He's probably the best standout versus what we've seen in Dune 1, right? And Baron is pretty good too, but also new characters in the Emperor. Having that presence of Christopher Walken on screen, as you could tell, he holds a royal kind of presence around everyone. Not just because he has servants around him and everything, but he just has this way of talking that I think really shoots out on film. Florence Pugh as the Emperor's daughter, an absolute beauty. I mean, you guys seen that chain dress? When she's in that, you could tell you're in the presence of royalty, and she's just an absolute goddess in here. But I mean, characters overall amazing. Zendaya was pretty good. Josh Brolin, it was great seeing him. We saw that in the trailer. But yeah, cinematography and all technical aspects from this film, right? Dune 1 to Dune 2, exact what we expect, right? This is peak cinema at its best. And when you have Greg Fraser, when you have Denis Villeneuve, when you have Hans Zimmer, these three combined makes a trio we would want to see forever. I would say Dune 1 had a slight edge in technical aspects just because we saw it for the first time. Watching Paul Atreides leave Caladan in, I think that's the name of it, Caladan planet, the original House Atreides planet, and leaving to Arrakis. I love that, like Paul's dream sequence in Hans Zimmer's score, and then the cinematography leaving. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. But this too, like, remember that scene in the trailer? That was my favorite shot this whole film, was the sandworm leaving behind while Paul's walking across, and it's I think it's blurred on Paul with the sandworm focused in. Such a beautiful, immersive scene. And then Paul walking through the Fremen slowly. And this scene reminded me of some ways of the Islamic religion and how people gather in Mecca. And that gathering just reminded me so much of this scene. And then them just moving slightly. Such a beautiful scene. I mean, actually now thinking about it, those shots probably are better. But all in all, I think Dune 1 had better aspects. And then Paul's dream, like that sequence, Hans Zimmer's the GOAT. But this one is like on the same level. But again, my first experience watching Dune 1, amazing, super impactful, just because it was our first time, right? So I hold Dune 1 to another standard, but another great piece of art here. So yeah, my favorite parts, the technical aspects, visuals, grand scale. This is what we expect from Denis Villeneuve, but it's so shocking when we see certain scenes, and like even that sandworm scene, him riding, I think there's a shot of that, so it's not a spoiler, but him riding that sandworm is absolutely crazy. It feels like you're on a roller coaster damn near. And with the sound design too, it's just so awesome, because it's not just as simple as, they don't make it as simple as just getting on a worm, right? You're not like riding a horse or anything, but they make it so intense where it's like, okay, what is Paul gonna do like to overcome this obstacle he's facing? So I think that's a really fun scene. Battle sequences really stand out, and there's just more lore that I didn't know about. So yeah, I'm actually someone that never read the book, so I have a different perspective. I'm just more of a film head, love visuals, love understanding screenplays and adaptations, but I don't know the full story around things. So there's certain questions I have at the end of the spoiler review that I would like to ask you guys, because I'm not too sure about. Now, with the downsides of the film, there's a lot of great things in the film, but the downsides, I'd say specifically in some battle sequences, I felt like it didn't take enough time to explore. Maybe in of itself, I wanted just more of action and whatnot, but from what I've seen in previous films, and again, maybe I have a preconceived bias opinion right now of like, oh, it's not to the level of like Lord of the Rings or something in terms of those battle sequences. So I'm comparing it to that level, right? Because this is Denis Villeneuve. This is a huge science fiction film in a science fiction scale. Maybe some sequences I felt like I wanted to be extended more. Again, my favorite pieces were the battle scenes, but I just wanted more of it, right? So certain aspects in that way. Another notable standout was in Gaiety Prime. This was in the trailer too, but the crowd sequences, I felt like that CGI overall visual effects was amazing in the film, but you could tell that crowd was not real. Maybe it was, and I'm just like dumbfounded, but I thought it was more CGI-ish. Obviously, you can't really get 10,000 extras to be in a crowd. I mean, only for certain films, but really not to that scale. So it's definitely fair to use visual effects. I just thought that specific part was not too much believable. But that's one downside with the visual effects. But overall, such a beautiful piece of art. And then I thought Javier Bardem's character, Algren, I thought some of his comedic moments were really funny. Some of them may have been forced a bit too much, and I felt like sometimes I didn't get the full kind of ambiance around the character. But again, he was funny in certain aspects, but a bit forced in others. So honestly, those are the three downsides I'm really thinking about. I'm going to experience this again in IMAX, so we're going to get another perspective. Hopefully, we'll add on to the 9/10 score I gave it. So yeah, it's 9 out of 10 in my ratings. So coming out of Oppenheimer, I gave that an 8.7. Now it's a 9.3 after watching it 4 or 5 times now. And hopefully that will be the same for this experience, but we'll see. Like, I try to not be biased when it comes to other people's perspectives and just come in with like an open acknowledgement, right? I came into this with a lot of anticipation, and so when I had a 9 flat score, it was more or less like bounded on the anticipation going through the film. Now that I'm grounded and I actually know what's gonna happen at the end, I think I can go to the next few screenings of it being like, okay, let's just go along for the ride, right? So that's gonna be a great time. So we're gonna move on to the spoiler review part right now. So first off, best scene in the movie, in my opinion, this was in the trailer, but the Reverend Mother Bene Gesserit, former Charlotte Rampling, I believe, amazing. She's a great actress, but Paul saying silence to her.
You do Paul Atreides. Silence!
Oh my gosh, with the echo and bass in the background, that was so amazing. Like, you could tell, like, when you're in that interrogation scene, not interrogation, but I guess the face-off scene when Paul and the Fremen, when you see Emperor on the side and the Harkonnen over there, I just felt this kind of level of craziness, and this environment around you is like so tense, and that's my favorite scene out of the whole film. I actually enjoyed that duel sequence between Fade Rotha and Paul, obviously, but I think some of that choreography was kind of like predetermined. I mean, it wasn't the greatest piece of fight making, but I mean, it was decent. It was pretty good. Really interesting. I thought when Paul got stabbed at the end, I mean, he wasn't even limping. Like, I thought that aspect was kind of off. I mean, he is the Messiah, so I guess you could go to that kind of ruling. I'm sorry, Chani, but like when you see Florence Pugh right there, you just gotta grasp what you have there. I don't know how the take is going to be in Dune Messiah. This is my questions I have. Like, first off, I mean, there's so much going on here, but let's go back a little bit. But the mom, so Jessica's baby, right? How is that influenced? Because I didn't understand the story of her talking to Paul in the future and her kind of role in this whole story. I don't know how that's gonna play. And also, why did he even take the hand, even though he said to Chani, "I'll always be with you," right? So I'm not too sure about that. Probably politics at the end of the day, right? Which I really enjoyed about this film. the politics going on with House Harkonnen. I wish there was more strategy influence though. Like maybe we had the battle sequences of like probably 30 seconds of who's going to attack where, blah blah blah, right? But I wanted more of that, and maybe a little bit more shock when it came to certain aspects when it was revealed, right? So maybe that would have been cool. But yeah, like the sandworm sequences, super awesome when Paul is just writing all of them. And the battle scenes, it literally reminded me of Return of the King when the elephants came in that kind of level of scale. And people shooting arrows on the top, like it felt like that essence in the final battle, right? So sandworms coming and destroying everything, like that's what we wanted. That Fade Rotha scene, like anything on Gedi Prime was really cool. Again, the crowd CGI past that stuff, I think really interesting development we had with this slithering freak of a character, this insane character in Fade Rotha and Austin Butler. Best performance, one of the best performances in this film, and then along with Paul Atreides. But that sequence with the other Bene Gesserit, I forget her name, she was in Inglourious Bastards and in a lot of amazing films. She's a great actress, like Spectre, I believe, too. But yeah, that was like very deceiving as well. Like these Bene Gesserits are in for the potential of the next one, right? So it was cool seeing that sequence and how those play into politics moving forward in the realm of this galaxy or whatever it is. The overall film, really fun to watch. Tell me if I should know these things, if you guys want to answer those questions I had earlier. But also Dune Messiah, I've been hearing things of like, oh, you don't want to know this. For the people that haven't read the book, you're going to be disappointed. So honestly, I'm just up for perspective. Again, adaptations versus what the actual book is, two different things. So maybe Denis Villeneuve will make it better or change some things, but hopefully it won't affect the fandom as well. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know what you think. This is a 9 out of 10 for me, potentially going up. Check out my other content surrounding Dune 2, and I will see you on the next one, guys. Cheers, and have a good one.